Hello, this is Juan Antonio Bayona. I'm the director of The Impossible, and you're watching Star TV.
Ja, danke vielmals Juan Antonio Bayona für die warmen Worte an unser Publikum und damit herzlich willkommen, liebe Damen und Herren, zu den Star News. Und heute geht es tatsächlich bei uns in der Sendung um den neuen Film «The Impossible», der morgen in Kinos kommt. Dort geht es um eine Familie, die ganz knapp das Drama 2004, den Tsunami, überlebt. Und wir haben den Regisseur, wie ihr schon gesehen habt am Anfang der Sendung, natürlich getroffen in Zürich zum Interview und er hat uns einiges zu erzählen über den Film.
Well, The Impossible is the true story of this family.
The Impossible erzählt die wahre Geschichte einer Familie, die den Tsunami in Thailand 2004 erlebt hat.
And it wants to be like an emotional.
Der Film ist ein emotionales Erlebnis für das Publikum. Er bringt die Zuschauer ganz nah an das Geschehen und er vermittelt das Gefühl, wie es sich angefühlt hat. Der Film ist eine sehr ernsthafte Auseinandersetzung mit einer der größten Katastrophen der letzten Jahrzehnte.
Das Schlimmste. Was ist, wenn Mami und Lukas jetzt auch ganz allein sind? Stell dir vor, wie viel Angst die haben.
Er erzählt die Geschichte einer Touristenfamilie, die durch den Tsunami auseinandergerissen wird.
Geh los und hilf jemandem. Du kannst sowas. Schaffst du es allein? Ich verspreche es dir.
Hast du meinen Sohn gesehen?
Suchen Sie Ihre Familie?
Hast du sie gesehen?
Ich helfe ihm. Josef Benström? Ist er hier?
Die Eltern und ihre Kinder versuchen sich in dem allgegenwärtigen Chaos wiederzufinden und erleben dabei viele berührende Momente.
Lukas! Lukas! Simon!
Ich werde alle Krankenhäuser absuchen und jede Sammelstelle. Ich finde sie, das verspreche ich dir.
It became like a vital learning experience with us. I mean, after shooting this film,
Der ganze Dreh war eine echte Erfahrung für unser Leben.
vision of life, you know.
Danach hatte ich einen ganz anderen Blick auf das Leben.
You start to realize that
Wenn man mit all diesen Leuten redet, merkt man, wie wichtig jede Sekunde des Lebens ist. Dass du nicht unsterblich bist.
you give so many things for granted, and then you meet these people and
Man nimmt so viele Dinge als selbstverständlich hin, aber wenn man diese Leute trifft, lernt man das Leben zu respektieren.
way and you learn. I mean, for me, it's been like a very.
Ich habe dadurch sehr viel Lebenserfahrung bekommen. The Impossible ist ein emotionales Drama mit Starbesetzung. Ewan McGregor und Naomi Watts zeigen in diesem Film große Gefühle. Ohne viel Kitsch bringt der Film den wahren Opfern der Tragödie viel Respekt für das Erlebte entgegen. Unser Fazit: großes Kino.
Ja, geht The Impossible schauen im Kino, unter anderem mit dabei Ewan McGregor und Naomi Watts, beides zwei grossartige Schauspieler aus Hollywood. Und einen weiteren grossartigen Mann bzw. Schauspieler, Künstler, Musiker, Entertainer haben wir jetzt bei uns in der Sendung, und zwar reden wir da vom Dieter Meier. Morgen Donnerstagabend am 8. Uhr zeigen wir seinen ersten Film aus dem Jahr 1981, nämlich «Jetzt und alles». Und der Dieter Meier will sich persönlich ans Publikum richten und er sagt euch, wieso ihr morgen am 8. Uhr Star TV einschalten müsst.
Hallo, ich bin der Dieter Meier von Yellow. Morgen Abend seht ihr auf Star TV meinen ersten Spielfilm «Jetzt und alles» mit einem grossartigen Richie Müller in der Hauptrolle. Der Film zeigt auch einen ganz frühen Auftritt eigentlich von Yellow. Geschichte ist Geschichte von einem jungen Mann, eigentlich auf der Suche nach seinem Sinn. Er wird kriminell, nicht weil er dort Geld verdienen will, sondern for the hell of it. Und ist dann eigentlich plötzlich konfrontiert mit einerseits seinem Gangsterpartner, der natürlich weiter machen will und andererseits verfolgt von der Polizei, weil sie tatsächlich ein übles Ding dreht und er will alles ungeschehen machen, so wie bisher alles im Leben, was er gemacht hat. Er hat können rausspucken wie ein Kaugummi, der ausgelutscht ist, aber das Mal geht es dann eben anders. Schaut morgen den Thriller an.
Ja, ihr habt es gehört, Dieter Meier, oder? Also morgen am 8. Uhr schaut jetzt und alles in der Schweizer Filmschiene. Hier bei uns auf Star TV, jeweils am Donnerstag am 8. Uhr bei uns auf dem Sender. Und in der Sendung Star News geht es jetzt weiter mit einem wunderbaren Making-of. Und zwar bringen wir euch die Erfolgsserie One Tree Hill aus Amerika ein bisschen näher und stellen euch die ein bisschen genauer vor in einem schönen Making-of, wo wir ein bisschen hinter die Kulissen schauen, was denn so alles abgeht bei so einem Dreh in Hollywood.
Other than what I've been trying to be lately. All I want to do is think of me and I peace of mind. I don't want to be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately.
You can expect more of that.
All I do is think of me and I peace of mind. I'm tired of looking around.
Nice hands.
Nice legs.
I'm supposed to be.
Hayden.
My name is Mark Schwann. I created the show One Tree Hill, and I'm day-to-day one of the executive producers.
I love the basic premise of this show. I love the Cain and Abel setup.
Basically, One Tree Hill is about two brothers.
One Tree Hill actually had its first life as a feature project called Ravens.
And he had written like maybe 25 pages, and he left it with me to read. And I read it, and I really liked it.
So we went back to Mark and said, while it would have been exciting to spend 2 hours in this world with these characters, imagine developing a series and having the potential to spend 100 and some hours with these characters in this world.
So we pursued Mark for 4 years, because Mark wanted to write it as a movie. I kept on saying it would be a better television show.
And so we redeveloped Ravens as a series for the WB.
They weren't in love with the title. I was. They felt like it was too sports-centric because Ravens was the name of the team. And when I was writing the original script, I had been listening to the Joshua Tree, which is a U2 album, and there's a song called One Tree Hill. So they loved it, and they said, you know, One Tree Hill is what we'd like to go with. What was interesting was about 6 episodes in, I got a note from the network, and they said, what does One Tree Hill mean? The audience wants to know. As we've told these stories in this world, I feel like there is only one Tree Hill. And I said, what I'd like to have happen is I'd like Karen to say to Lucas,
there is only one Tree Hill, and it's your home.
Our first episode out, we had really poor ratings.
Our numbers were very low in the beginning.
Everyone was really kind of in a panic.
The good news is that because we started out so poorly and the ratings were so low, there was nowhere to go but up.
I didn't want to come out all big and flashy and, you know, this high concept show with a lot of money behind it. I really wanted to kind of be like the little train that could.
Chad Michael Murray was the first piece of casting. He was sort of the key.
Originally, we weren't sure who Chad was going to play.
I wanted him to be Nathan. I saw him as a Nathan.
Mark and I were going back and forth, and everybody else was going back and forth between him playing Nathan or Lucas. You know, Chad had played the bad guy in a lot of things before, so the natural thing was to give him the bad guy role.
Chad really wanted to be Lucas. Ultimately, that made the decision for us. He just responded to the character. He felt like he could inhabit that character.
Lucas's life had a lot of similarities in my life.
This role means more to him.
My mother left when I was a kid, and I felt like I had an opportunity to bring the truth and the reality to a story that I don't think a lot of people may have been able to have that opportunity to bring the truth and tell the story the way I see it through my eyes anyway.
I told you it was going to get worse.
James Lafferty had more experience as a basketball player than as an actor.
I don't think I was like an initial choice.
When James went into casting, he was the dark horse to get the job.
I had to go through probably 5 or 6 auditions to actually get the part.
James is a kid I had screen test for The Perfect Score and didn't hire and sort of knew about, and he came in and read for us, and we were like, we weren't really sure, and sort of gave him some notes, and we were going to bring him to the network only because we just didn't have the guy. And
I didn't think that my auditions were up to par, but they sort of gave me a chance.
Ultimately, he came into the network that day and blew us away, like surprisingly blew us away.
Scott, the game!
We had met Hillary Burton in casting the movie Radio. She was coming off her MTV work, really hadn't done much acting, was principally a television host, but she had a remarkable quality.
I think it was nice to play a character that, one, wasn't necessarily everybody's favorite at first, you know? It was nice to try to win the crowd over.
I was surprised at how much they resented Peyton in the beginning.
She, I think, made a lot of people angry when our show first came on the air because they're like, okay, cheerleader who likes punk music, who's an artist, who's dark and moody but still popular, this doesn't exist.
I couldn't understand why the audience resented her so much. She was a kid making mistakes just like all the other kids, but she seemingly was miserable and had a wonderful life, and they resented her for that.
In everything I've ever done, I've always played the bad guy. And she was the bad guy in the first episode, you know? She was a jerk.
We had to strip the character, strip all the severe sort of edginess away from the character, and we made a conscious effort to make her the moral center of the show in the second half of the season. The audience started to like her more too, and they didn't quite know why.
Would you say yes if he asked you out?
It depends. What song is playing? Am I in a good mood? Is he smiling when he asks, or is he doing that goofy brooding thing he does?
Oh, you know, I think he's definitely doing the brooding.
He does that all the time.
There wasn't enough humor in the beginning of the show. We were really, really earnest, and I think Sophia added a lot of humor to the show.
Hey, you. Don't mind me, I just have to get out of this uniform.
And I think that's what people really gravitated to, and she was a real spark for us.
She wasn't brooding, she wasn't pouting. We didn't know a lot about her, she was a bit of a cipher, but what we did know was fun.
Brooke is sort of your quintessential fun girl. She's got a lot of spunk and a lot of kick.
At a certain point in the season, we decided that we wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit. We wanted to show that there was a person there that had some heart.
What I relate to with Brooke is people looking in on a life that they think must be pretty easy and still not being sure of yourself. You know, still having insecurity. I don't think there's a girl on the planet that wakes up every day and feels good about herself every day. That doesn't happen.
You know, it didn't work out with her and Lucas, but I think the audience was there and they wanted to see that journey take place. And, you know, some people root for Peyton and Lucas, some people for Brooke and Lucas, but that's good. That's all good, because at the end of the day, that means Sophia Bush is doing a fantastic job.
What is she doing here?
You invited her.
When we saw Bethany Joy Lenz, I think she was Joy Lenz at that point. Then she was Bethany for a while. I tease her about it. I'm sorry, Bethany.
I was cast as Haley. It was another random audition in LA that I had, and I actually read for Haley and Brooke, but I didn't really want to play Brooke, so I just read Brooke the exact same way that I had read Haley, which isn't that great for me as an actress, but it looks, I mean, it was, anyway, I got the part I wanted.
Joy is someone who challenges herself to be electric on every take. Many times she'll make choices and elevate the material, and, you know, that's when you really win. And
the water balloon fight is definitely one of my favorites. There's a great scene where Lucas and I are just in the kitchen and making hot chocolate, and that was one of the only scenes I've done where I really felt like they let us have all the time we wanted. We just sat there and there was moments of silence, there was awkward pauses. It was really a joyful scene to film and to go back and watch and go, that's exactly how I wanted it to look.
I wanted to remember for a night the way that things were. Everything was so much simpler when it was just you and me. And I'm used to being self-confident and sensible, and I just really feel like a mess right now.
You're not a mess. You're just in love.
I thought that we would be really missing an opportunity if we didn't spend time in the adults' world as well.
You can't make these shows just about the kids. They will not work.
The great thing about the parents are they're involved with the kids' lives, but they're also fallible.
I want to know what's going on in their lives. Where are they trying to get to? Because as you and I know, it doesn't end when high school ends. It doesn't end, it never ends.
We have an amazing adult cast. You know, a guy like Craig Sheffer, who was in A River Runs Through It, to play Keith is unbelievable.
I would say if there is such a thing as your average middle American kind of guy with a good heart, I think that's what Keith is. I think that's what attracted me to playing the character, because I come from Midwestern sort of part of the country, and And he's like a regular guy, but he's got a lot of depth, and he's a good leader and a good role model. So I really like that about him.
Did I trap you? And did I lead you on and trick you into loving Lucas?
No, and you didn't trick me into loving you either.
Moira Kelly, when an actor calls you and they elevate the material consistently, it's just, you know, give me an idea that's better than mine. Make my job easier.
You know, she was on The West Wing. To get somebody like that on the show was great.
Karen Rowe is a single mom of a 17-year-old boy. She runs a cafe in One Tree Hill. She grew up in One Tree Hill, was a cheerleader in the high school, fell in love, got pregnant, lost the guy left, married someone else. He has a son, comes back to town, and now here I am, the mother of a son whose, I guess, stepbrother is in school with him, and tangled web. I found out I was pregnant after the pilot, and then I was very concerned because I, you know, was waiting to hear whether the pilot was going to get picked up, and if it did, was I still going to be able to be part of it, because now I'm pregnant, and that takes Karen on a whole other path.
I knew that I didn't want Karen to be pregnant because it just didn't work with the stories we were telling.
But Mark Schwann said that he was, you know, he wasn't going to let me go, that we were going to work it out, and we did.
Our director of photography, Billy Dixon, was hiding her behind everything he could come up with.
We found a lot of things for Karen to stand behind, from plants to laundry to chafing dishes of stuffed mushrooms, you name it. We found it.
When she walks out the door to go to the airport, it's a fantastic moment. You have to look for it. It's shot at a Dutch angle. There's a house plant in front of her. Keith carries the suitcase out in front of her. You never see her stomach. You know, it all worked out.
Paul Johansson, who plays Dan, I've known forever.
The great thing about Paul is he plays probably one of the meanest fathers on television, but he's probably the nicest guy in the world.
Paul Johansson was an unbelievable basketball player in his day, so it's a great part for him.
I was walking down the street in New York City one time, and I was getting out, actually I was just getting out of a taxi, that's what it was, and I turned and I was hit by a purse, which must have been full of nickels or something, because it knocked me on my butt. And I looked up at the lady and she goes, "I know what you're doing to that boy." And I said, "Excuse me, what are you talking about?" She goes, "That son of yours, Lucas. I don't like the way you treat him, and I know what you're doing to him." And I said, "Ma'am, I'm an actor. That's not real."
That article's a lie. You're not my father and you never were.
You're right, it is a lie. You should never have had the name in the first place. I get a daily rush out of working with Barbara Allen Woods, who plays Deb, my wife, because she brings it.
What else do you want, Dan?
I want you.
I saw 3 pages of the script, and no lie, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. Deb is different in that she is well-rounded. I've normally played moms or vixens or temptresses. She's sort of well-rounded. She does it all. She has a job. She's a mom. She is a sexual being. She, ooh, hint of what's to come. I am very lucky that I work with Paul Johansson, who plays Dan. I never stop laughing. You know, he sort of gives me my space. Deb cries a lot. She's very emotional, and I need to be in my zone, and he's very respectful of that. But I'll hear him say something in the corner of the room, and he cracks me up. I mean, his presence cracks me up. The show does appeal to all ages. I mean, it's not just about the kids, it's about the way the kids relate to the parents, and their parents have their own lives, and that's true life.
Ja, die Sendung, die täglich die Nation aufs Neue spaltet, die ist leider schon wieder vorbei. Schaltet am Morgen wieder ein. Am 6:30 bei uns auf Star TV zeigen wir euch in den Star News den Dieter Meier. Er kommt vorbei und er erzählt über seinen Film, den wir dann am Abend um 8 Uhr zeigen, über Jetzt und Alles. Und wir zeigen euch jetzt noch, was heute Abend alles auf Star TV kommt. Nachher geht es weiter mit der Serie Dr. Becker und wir sehen uns morgen wieder um 6:30. Bis dann wünsche ich ganz einen schönen Abend, macht's gut und tschüss.
Heute Abend um 20 Uhr zeigen wir die Free-TV-Premiere The Other Woman mit Natalie Portman in der Hauptrolle. Emilia Greenleaf ist eine 20-jährige Anwältin, die sich in ihren Boss Jack verliebt. Als sie kurz darauf schwanger wird, erfährt sie jedoch, dass Jack verheiratet ist und einen Sohn hat. Jack ist zwar so gut wie geschieden, doch Probleme überschatten die aufblühende Liebe. Dies erst recht, als Emilia ihr Baby verliert und Jacks Sohn allen Hass gegen Emilia aufbringt, den ein Kind einer Stiefmutter gegenüber aufbringen kann.
I like it in the city when the air
so thin and open.
Um 23:30 Uhr geht das Spielfilmprogramm weiter mit der Komödie Guck mal, wer da spricht. John Travolta und Kirstie Alley spielen James und Molly, die sich während einer Taxifahrt kennenlernen. Die hochschwangere Molly bekommt ihr Kind und muss daher schnellstmöglich ins Krankenhaus. Der Vater des Kindes will keine Verantwortung übernehmen, weshalb James sich kurzerhand entscheidet, der jungen Frau bei der Geburt zu helfen. Baby Mike, dessen Stimme das Geschehen schon während der Schwangerschaft kommentiert, mag James und hätte ihn gerne zum Vater. Und so kommt es, dass Molly und James nach einigen abenteuerlichen Ereignissen ein Paar werden.